Why daughter was expelled after bullying a classmate so severely the poor girl nearly harmed herself. Then for 2 years she kept her father's affair a secret from me, only to turn around and accuse me of replacing her the moment I tried to move on and start dating again. I, a 49-year-old woman, was in a marriage with my former spouse Derek, also 49, for 2 decades before our separation a few months ago. We have 2 children, a 22-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old son. My world crumbled when I discovered Derek had been involved in a 2-year extramarital affair. However, the revelation that my daughter had been aware of it the entire time was almost as devastating. She actively concealed it from me for 2 years, fabricating stories and providing cover for him, never once attempting to alert me. When the truth emerged, I was heartbroken, not only by my husband's infidelity but also by my daughter's decision to keep it secret. She was quite young back then, and I acknowledge it was a challenging predicament for her. Yet the anguish was profound. I never directly confronted her, believing it might impact her as she was preparing for college. I simply informed her that I was aware, that I understood, and I tried to move forward. However, after she departed, I found myself progressively withdrawing from her. It wasn't intentional. I simply required personal space to recover, which meant less frequent calls and reduced communication. Fast forward a year and a half, and I've begun a relationship with a 41-year-old man who has a 10-year-old daughter from a previous connection. Recently, we all visited Disney together, and he shared a family photograph of us on social media. For context, my partner generously covered all the expenses as a gift for his daughter's birthday, aiming to make it a memorable occasion for her, alongside my son and me. She chose 2 of her cousins to accompany us, transforming it into a large family-oriented excursion centered entirely on her. My daughter must have seen the post because she didn't contact me for over a month afterward, and truthfully, her absence affected me less than it would have previously. I still cherish her, but every interaction rekindles that pain unexpectedly. Out of the blue, she telephoned me in tears, shouting that I clearly hadn't forgiven her and had deliberately excluded her. She accused me of substituting her with my boyfriend and his daughter. She repeatedly insisted it was a long time ago, that she was a child and didn't intend to cause me harm. She claimed she believed she was doing the right thing by remaining silent, that she didn't know how to tell me, and that she was terrified of shattering our family. She inquired if I would ever forgive her, or if I had permanently moved on. I attempted to assure her that I loved her and never wished to replace her, but she merely persisted, arguing that I should be over it by now and that I had abandoned her for this new existence. To make matters worse, my former husband subsequently called me, enraged, accusing me of deserting my daughter for a younger man and a new family. He even had the audacity to label me selfish for moving forward. Ironically, his current girlfriend is 30, and he is the one who dismantled our family with his affair. It feels as though no one comprehends that I am still striving to recuperate from years of betrayal, and it seems I'm expected to simply dismiss it, as if my suffering is inconsequential. My son, who resides with me, learned about his sister's concealment of the affair after overhearing his paternal grandmother and aunt conversing. He was crushed and has not forgiven her either. They've barely exchanged words since. I never wanted him to know, but it feels like the entire family is now fractured, and I am unsure how to mend it. I am undergoing therapy, but I still feel adrift. A part of me recognizes she was young and didn't know how to manage the situation, but another part believes she chose him over me. I adore my daughter, but each conversation brings that hurt back to the surface. I don't know if I am failing as a mother or if I am safeguarding myself. I feel emotionally disengaged and uncertain how to reestablish our connection. Edit. Just to clarify, my divorce actually occurred a few months ago, not 3 years ago as I initially stated. My sister, who is somewhat disorganized, encouraged me to post here and largely transcribed it for me. In the process, she misremembered the timeline, and I didn't notice it before publishing. My daughter was 17 when she learned about the affair. She was experiencing a lot at the time, including having to change schools due to some personal difficulties and repeating a year, so when I found out it was less than 2 years ago. I hope this resolves the confusion. Update 1. First, I wish to express my gratitude to everyone who responded to my post. I was genuinely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of replies. I did my utmost to read through as many as possible, and some of the counsel was difficult to absorb but necessary. It's been a lot to process, but one comment particularly resonated with me. Someone mentioned how delicate life is and how little time we truly have with those we cherish. That thought profoundly impacted me. I had been so consumed by anguish and resentment that I neglected to consider what I desired my relationship with my daughter to be like in the long term. If something were to happen tomorrow, would I be content with leaving things as they are? That idea lingered, and within a few days, I resolved to contact my daughter. I told her I wanted us to converse, not to revisit the past or assign blame, but to ascertain how we could progress. She was hesitant initially, which I completely comprehend. We had the discussion a few evenings ago, and while it wasn't effortless, I am thankful she was prepared to be open. There were strained moments, and I won't deny it was challenging to hear some of what she expressed, but for the first time in a long while, I felt as though we were finally confronting what had been festering between us. We discussed what had transpired, and I finally requested the complete truth from her. When I first uncovered her father's affair, he informed me that she had always been aware of it. In fact, he asserted she had been his confederate, concealing information from me on multiple occasions. He even claimed that she disliked me and was on his side. Hearing that from him was devastating. I could not believe my daughter would act in such a manner or harbor such sentiments toward me. The way I learned about the affair was dreadful, and the notion that my daughter had played any role in it, even inadvertently, made it considerably worse. Initially, she was very reluctant to discuss it, but eventually, she opened up and began sharing everything, including the circumstances that led to her actions. A few months prior to my discovery of the affair, she had been involved in a difficult situation at her high school. Without delving into specifics, it was an issue where her conduct resulted in severe repercussions. The school had a zero-tolerance policy, and consequently, she was expelled. She had to transfer to a new school and repeat the year. Furthermore, her academic performance suffered, and she found it challenging to regain her footing. When this occurred, I felt it was crucial for her to face the full weight of her actions and assume responsibility for what she had done. I restricted her activities and confiscated her electronic devices, hoping the consequences would aid her in reflection and personal growth. I wanted her to grasp the gravity of the situation and emerge from it as a more improved individual. Her father, however, completely disagreed with my approach. He believed I was being excessively severe, insisting that she had already learned her lesson and required support rather than punishment. The tension within our household became unbearable between my frustration with him and my disappointment in her behavior. I found it increasingly difficult to communicate effectively with her. There were constant disputes, arguments that seemed to erupt over everything and nothing simultaneously. It wasn't just them. Therapy over the past year helped me realize that I also contributed. My hurt and frustration often manifested as anger, and instead of addressing matters calmly, I allowed my emotions to dictate. I was perpetually angry and frustrated, and my mood likely created an even more strained and uncomfortable atmosphere for everyone. So, when she learned about his affair shortly thereafter, she was angry with me and still reeling from all that had transpired. She admitted that a part of her decision to remain silent was fueled by a desire for retribution against me. She felt that keeping the secret was her way of seeking revenge, though she now recognizes how misguided that was. She also informed me she had attempted to persuade her father to confess, but he dissuaded her, telling her that I had already been sufficiently disappointed by her situation and that she shouldn't exacerbate matters. Feeling trapped, she lied and continued to lie, hoping it would somehow dissipate without my knowledge. Hearing this from her was heartbreaking. It did not justify her actions, but it helped me comprehend her viewpoint. Knowing her father pressured her to maintain his secret intensifies my anger toward him. He shattered everything with his affair and then exploited our daughter to cover for him, making her feel ensnared and accountable for his deceptions. I despise what he subjected her to. To be frank, our marriage was already experiencing a difficult period at the time, and we likely would have ended up divorcing regardless. However, it's one thing to fail as a husband, but to fail so utterly as a parent is unforgivable. They always shared a positive relationship, and I never wished to ruin that for her, even when I was angry. But witnessing how he used her in his falsehoods has only deepened my resentment. I told her that I've been wounded, not just by her actions but by how profoundly they shook my trust in her. Simultaneously, I reminded her that I love her and always will. I stated that while I cannot alter the past, I desire to reconstruct our relationship. We agreed to proceed incrementally. I suggested we attempt online therapy together, and while she was hesitant at first, she consented. She has already been seeing a therapist independently and was uncertain about opening up in a joint session, but I believe she ultimately grasped how much I want to make this work. I also mentioned her brother. They have never shared the closest bond. He has always been more reserved and independent, while she is more outgoing and emotional. There has been tension between them in the past, and ever since he overheard what happened with her concealing the affair, they have barely communicated. I've tried to speak to him about perhaps offering her another chance, even when I wasn't on the best terms with her. I genuinely want them to have a good relationship, but I also don't want to pressure him excessively. He is his own individual, and I don't want him to feel as though I am attempting to compel him into something he isn't prepared for or doesn't wish to do. He is permitted to make his own choices, and if they require time apart to heal, I will respect that. Someone mentioned the unrealistic expectations we often place on women, and I've been contemplating that extensively. I don't hold her to any unattainable standard simply because she is a woman. She is the joy of my existence, but sometimes I realize I've conveyed everything in such a negative light due to how it all unfolded. I'm just trying to comprehend it all. I don't know precisely where I stand or what I'm feeling at times. I'm simply navigating life like anyone else, doing my utmost. Thank you all again for your guidance and for providing me the impetus I needed to initiate this conversation. It's not easy, but I am optimistic we will overcome this one step at a time. Additional information from OOP on her response to a commenter regarding the said incident involving her daughter. Of course, I haven't reconciled with it. You want a summary? Let me give you a damn summary. My daughter participated in an indefensible situation. A situation that pushed another girl so far that she nearly did something irreversible. Almost destroyed herself. The other girl's parents lodged a complaint against the school, and my daughter admitted she was culpable. Admitted it and still offered excuses for herself. So yes, I disciplined her. What the hell else was I supposed to do? Brush it aside? Pretend it didn't happen? My husband sided with her, claiming she had endured enough. She had been expelled as if that were sufficient. She threw fits, acted like a casualty, and kept asserting she had learned her lesson. I did everything a parent is supposed to do. I tried to be the best possible mother I could be in that circumstance. Then I discovered my husband was cheating on me. Not just cheating. Cheating in the most gut-wrenching, humiliating manner imaginable. And what did he say when I confronted him? That my daughter had known all along, that she had assisted him in keeping his secret, and furthermore, he told me she didn't even like me. You want to discuss poison? That's poison. Hearing that from someone you love, knowing your own child had sided against you in something so despicable. But even then I didn't yell at her. I didn't lash out. I distanced myself, yes, but only because I didn't want to inflict more damage. Was I supposed to act as if everything was fine? Was I supposed to simply embrace her and pretend none of this had occurred? Everything was not fine, but I am trying now. I am striving my absolute best to rectify this situation. My son doesn't want me to. He believes she is toxic and advises me to stay away from her. But I told him no, she is my daughter and I am going to try. And yet here you all are, delivering your arbitrary judgments as if I haven't been working tirelessly to preserve this family. I did not request your judgment. I was providing an update. But fine, screw you. Update 2. I don't even know where to begin. My relationship with my daughter has always been challenging, but everything truly fractured when I learned she had concealed her father's affair from me. She was aware of his actions, and she did not inform me. When the truth emerged, not just about his treachery but about her secrecy, it broke something within me that I haven't been able to mend. Even before the clandestine nature of her relationship with her father came to light, we were not in a good place. We had been constantly clashing. Years ago, there was an incident at her school that altered everything. She had tormented another child in a manner I can only describe as horrifying, so severely that it resulted in her removal from the school. I had experienced something similar in my own youth, but from the opposing perspective. I was the victim. What she did resurrected memories I thought I had buried. Terrible ones I still haven't fully processed. I might have overcorrected in her punishment. Perhaps I went too far. But I wanted her to comprehend that what she had done was not merely wrong, it was exceedingly wrong. I confiscated her electronic devices because that was the medium she had utilized to fuel the bullying. Everything she did online was supervised. She could only use electronics for academic purposes, and even that was monitored. I made her volunteer in places where she could witness the impact of her actions. I even enrolled her in therapy. I did everything I believed was necessary to assist her, to help her develop into a better individual. But regardless of my efforts, the conflict persisted. She resented me for taking those measures, even though I was attempting to safeguard her and guide her toward better conduct. And then the situation with her father came to light. When I discovered she had been hiding his affair from me, it severed something between us. I never ceased loving her. I couldn't, but I felt so profoundly betrayed. I didn't confront her. I didn't even know how. Every time I considered saying something, I froze. Instead, I distanced myself in the most significant ways. I still conversed with her. I still answered the phone when she called, attended her events, and supported her financially. I never abandoned her in those respects, but I couldn't be there for her emotionally as I should have. Every time I looked at her, the pain surged back. I desired to rectify things, to be the mother she required, but I didn't know how to be close to her without disintegrating. It was so messed up, and I know I failed her by withdrawing, but I simply couldn't manage it. Now, after all this time, we are undergoing therapy together, striving to reconstruct what remains of our relationship. I don't know if it's beneficial or detrimental. The first session was acceptable, awkward but manageable. The second session felt like being disemboweled. She spent the entire time blaming me for everything. She claimed I ruined her childhood. She brought up the punishment from years ago, asserting I overreacted and destroyed her life. She refuses to acknowledge the harm she caused back then or the suffering she inflicted on that other child. She also refuses to recognize what her father did to me. She portrays him as some flawless, incredible person, while I am the antagonist in her narrative. Does she not perceive how he manipulated me, how he shattered our family? He manipulated her too, compelling her to conceal everything in the first place. She stated she was merely protecting him, but how could she not discern the truth? Yes, our marriage wasn't perfect. We married for all the wrong reasons, and we were headed for divorce anyway. But how is everything my fault? I've spent months endeavoring to find tranquility. I've worked so diligently to rebuild myself, to discover some semblance of equilibrium, and now therapy feels like it's tearing all of that apart. I am exhausted, mentally, emotionally, physically. I feel as though I am breaking my back trying to mend this relationship, and I don't know if I am strong enough to continue. I love her. She is my daughter, my flesh and blood. I will never stop loving her. But I feel as though no matter what I do, it's never enough. Why isn't this working? Why can't I make things right? I've attempted everything I can conceive of, and yet nothing is changing. Is it me? Am I truly such a terrible mother? Am I really the villain in all of this? I just don't comprehend how we ended up here. I've spent so many years striving to be the best mother I could be, attempting to protect her, to help her grow, but every step I take feels like it worsens matters. I know I've made errors, God, I know that, but is this relationship truly beyond repair? Is she better off without me? Why does she still refuse to see what he did? How could she not perceive the manipulation? Perhaps I was too harsh, too distant, but why does it feel like no matter what I do, it's never enough for her? I've given everything, but it's as if nothing matters to her. I just feel so lost. Perhaps I am not suited for this. Perhaps I've ruined everything. Perhaps I am the source of all this pain. She views me as the adversary, and perhaps that is all I am to her now, a constant reminder of everything she despises. I am breaking. I am so utterly broken, and I don't know how to mend this anymore. I don't even know where to proceed from here. Am I supposed to just keep battling, keep giving, or should I simply release it? I am so weary, so incredibly weary. I cannot breathe through this, it's suffocating. Update 3. Hello everyone. I wasn't intending to post again, but I've received a few messages requesting an update, so I decided to share this here and conclude it. I am no longer seeking advice. And I am certainly not seeking judgment. I merely wanted to close the loop. My daughter decided to discontinue therapy. She stated it wasn't helping, and I could tell she no longer genuinely wished to be there. I didn't argue with her about it. You cannot compel someone to heal, and attempting to do so only pushed us further apart. We are still in communication, but it's superficial now, and in some ways that is preferable. There is less tension, fewer disputes. I've come to realize you cannot truly heal with someone who refuses to assume responsibility for their actions. We are both still in individual therapy, however, so that is something. Perhaps one day we will find common ground, or perhaps we won't. I've come to accept that things might never fully mend between us. It still causes pain, but I can live with it. My door is always open to her. She is aware of that. On a more positive note, my boyfriend and I are planning to cohabitate, and it feels like the appropriate next step. We are both enthusiastic about it, and my son gained admission to an exceptional college. I am immensely proud of him. He has worked so diligently, and witnessing him achieve this is honestly one of the proudest moments of my life. Anyway, that is the current state of affairs. Thank you to everyone who extended kindness to me along the way. This will be my final update. I am prepared to let this chapter rest and simply concentrate on what lies ahead. Take care.